I think it's a great pleasure today for me to welcome you all to the International Women's Day. We are celebrating the theme Inspire Inclusion with this panel discussion that says Together We Rise, South Asia Women Leading the Energy Future. It's a collaborative effort between South Asia Regional Energy Hub, South Asia Regional Energy Partnership in collaboration with a joint initiative which is called South Asia Women in Energy. It's a joint initiative between USAID, which is the US-India US Agency for International Development, and US-India Strategic Partnership Forum. As we all know, energy sector offers vast opportunities, yet it remains one of the most gender imbalanced industries. So I think what we're trying to do with this panel discussion is directly address this challenge through engaging stories, insightful talks, and practical solutions. And I think the objective here is to raise the awareness and advocate for change and probably ignite some action towards achieving gender equity in the sector. And I think with that said, I'll probably introduce our great colleague and friend, Monali, who's probably going to give the keynote today. Monali, if I remember correctly, Aaron could not make it.
That's correct. And apologies to all the other colleagues, but Aaron had a medical appointment which he couldn't finish. So I'm just reading the keynote address on his behalf. But
Sure.
Good morning, I'm Monali's. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just quickly launch into it. Good morning, I'm Monali Hazra. I work in the Indo-Pacific office of the energy in the energy team at USAID India. I know many of you. Hi Ranjuji, did not get a chance to say hello to you earlier, but good to see all of you here. And also Shaili, who had opportunity to see in the SAWIE event earlier. So great to see many and my SAREH colleagues and other interested ladies and as well as men. Great to have all of you online. So just reading the keynote address on Aaron's behalf, and I'll switch off my camera just so that we have enough bandwidth. It's a pleasure to be with you today representing the US Agency for International Development, also known as USAID. I'm thrilled to be here today to celebrate the International Women's Day and its theme this year of Inspire Inclusion. Today's discussion titled Together We Rise, South Asia Women Leading the Energy Future aims to shed lights on the challenges women face in the South Asian sector, ignite meaningful dialogue, and pave the way for a more inclusive and equitable future. Despite global progress on women's rights and equality, women continue to be unrepresented in the field of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, representing only slightly more than 35% of the world's STEM graduates. In the energy sector, the stats are even more concerning. As per the International Renewable Energy Agency, women account for just 22% of the energy workforce, with most holding administrative positions. The number of women in the clean energy sector in South Asia is worse, ranging between 3 to 15%. The US government strongly believes that the gender equality and women's empowerment are central to effective and sustainable development outcomes. At USAID, we believe gender equality and women empowerment are not just part of development, but are core of development. Over time, we have learned that investing in women and girls is essential to transforming communities. When women do better, families do better, communities do better, and countries do better. Take, for example, the energy sector. Energy, in particular, is a key priority for the United States and South Asia region and is one of our most vibrant partnership. USAID is proud to support the transition to clean energy in India and throughout the South Asia region. However, we must ensure that women are part of the solution. This is what brings us here today. Through collaborative efforts and shared experience, we can break down barriers and create pathways for women to excel in all facets and tiers of the industry. USAID is proud to support the South Asia Women in Energy platform, also known as SAWIE, established jointly with US-India Strategic Partnership Forum to promote women's leadership in the energy sector and mainstream their participation in this field, which is traditionally male-dominated. SAWIE is a testament to our commitment to empowering women to serve as agents of change not just in leadership position, but across the board. Together with USISPF, USAID is taking a multifaceted approach to bridging gender gaps in the energy sector, focused on outreach and recruitment, mentorship and leadership, networking, and professional development. This just this doesn't just improve prospects for women and girls, but increases the effectiveness of our work overall. Engaging stakeholders is a crucial in driving systematic changes. We must involve diverse voices, including men, to promote broader changes and collective actions. By fostering allyship and promoting diversity and inclusion at all levels, we can create a more inclusive energy sector that benefits everyone. As we embark on this journey towards a more inclusive and equitable future, let us remember that progress is not inevitable. It requires intentional and concentrated effort from all of us. Together, let us rise to the challenge and empower South Asian women to lead the energy futures of the region. We need to harness women's potential as leaders and active agents of change in this epoch of transition toward clean energy. And today, we have, great women leaders with us who will be, taking you through their experiences in the South Asia energy sector. I would like to welcome all the panelists, Ranjuji, Dawa, Zorifa, as well as Shaili, for this very important discussion. And thank you for joining us today. I would also like to thank all of you who have joined this discussion and this exciting event. And overall for your commitment to increasing women's participation in the energy sector. Thank you once again. Thanks from Aaron's side as well as from my side. This is an important theme and topic which, as an organization we believe, but also personally as well. So I look forward to engaging you all in this discussion as we move forward with SAREH and SAREH's implementation. I would also like to thank my colleagues at SAWIE, SAREH for this intervention. With that, let me turn it over back to you, Ripu.
Thanks, Malali, for this great introduction. I think it's important to highlight some of the challenges that the sector faces. And I know you're too humble to not let anybody introduce you, but I think I'll take a moment to just give it a brief about Monali. She boasts about 24 years of experience in the energy sector. And she's managed several USAIDs, multi-million projects, multi-stakeholder clean energy programs, including regional power, trade and markets, renewable integration, clean fossil, distribution, reforms, and smart grids. So that's Monali for you. With that, I think now we can dive straight into the panel discussion. But so Nidhi is a Jesse advisor, gender equity and social inclusion for USAID-funded South Asia Regional Energy Partnership. She holds a PhD from the Center for Political Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, India, New Delhi, on gendering public transport system. Her research lies at the intersection of gender, planning, and transport in the Indian cities of Mumbai and Delhi, wherein she looks at the gender differences in the experience of accessing the city through public transport system. She has published many papers out of her research in national and international journals. As a practitioner, Nidhi has been working in the development sector as an independent consultant since 2016. She has worked for multiple implementation projects as a gender expert, and some of the key clients includes World Bank, Asian Development Bank. Notable projects are Chennai Gender Project for Greater Chennai Corporation, the Bangalore Metros, Transit Oriented, and so forth. She is responsible for integrating gender equality and social inclusion as a cross-cutting theme in all the interventions and across the work streams under USAID SAREH. So she will be the moderator today. But Nidhi, go ahead. Probably you can do the context setting, and then I can take a moment just to introduce them.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Ripu. So first of all, a very warm good morning to all of you, and I'm so honored to be kind of moderating this extremely relevant and crucial session. We are calling it Breaking Barriers and Building Inclusion, and on the occasion of International Women's Day, and in the call that we have put of Together We Rise, this discussion, the hope is to listen and learn from the women leaders that we have today, especially bringing the context of the South Asian region. I think the central agenda I would like to say, which we will aim to kind of address and discuss in this session, is to analyze if the current epoch of progress in the energy sector is inclusive and just, especially bringing it in South Asian context, and if this transition is taking the entire population along with it, what are some of the barriers to participation of women in the workforce, and what needs to be done on promoting gender equality and social inclusion in in this transition. As all of us know, that energy sector is something that plays a very, very critical role in catalyzing growth and development in any economy. It's even more pivotal uh, for developing economies in South Asia, where energy demands continue to rise. And therefore, given that we are at the cusp of this clean energy transition, and India has emerged as a leading champion in the South Asian region with fourth largest installed capacity of RE or renewable energy. I think it is very, very important to take a moment and highlight one of the often neglected perspectives in clean energy debate, which is about gender equity, promoting gender equity and social inclusion, the notion of just transition. Apart from inequitable energy access that we see in instances of women being responsible for collecting wood for fuel or head loading them for long distances or health hazards which are associated with it, was what is more, I would say, alarming is the participation ratios that we have, especially in leadership and technical roles that remain very, very scanty. And data from, various sources indicate that women represent between 3 to 15% in the energy sector across South Asia. It's very interesting, perhaps, to note that while in India we have a large pool of women who pursue STEM, so we have about 44% women who pursue STEM education, which is actually very, very high as compared to some of the most developed countries of US and UK. But it translates, what is alarming is that it translates to only about 14 to 18% jobs in the STEM sector, and that's what we need to. That is a gap. That's a major gap that we need to bridge. And even if we take global, data, we see that women only make about 32% of overall employment in the worldwide renewable energy sector, and a little bit more in the energy sector. But what is interesting is that while the percentage stands at 32, when one disaggregates this data, we see that about 45% of those 32% women pursue or are in jobs that are more administrative in nature than completely or STEM-based jobs. So the STEM-based jobs still remain at about 28% globally. Uh, and at this moment, I would like to just briefly touch upon when we're talking about gender and at the intersection of energy, we need to keep in mind about also the sustainable development goals. And that's, when it comes to energy access and efficiency and universal access, that is sustainable development goal number 7. It needs to be in injunction with sustainable development goal number 5, which is about gender equality, because what we've seen and learned and we've seen in so many reports is that even now, we are so close to Agenda 2030, but we see from the data from UN as Sustainable Development Goal reports that it would even now take about 140 years if we stay at this progress for women to be represented equally in positions of power, in positions of leadership, and the energy sector being primarily male dominated, it is very, very safe to establish that a lot needs to be done for this, to ensure this just transition and ensure an equitable energy future in the region. And on that note, I think I would like to actually listen more from our leaders here. And therefore, I would go to my esteemed panelists and ask them about their journey, their thoughts, and their vision on how to improve gender equity in energy in the region. So I think we'll start with, the first question, I think, which I would like to direct to Ms. Dawa, who is from Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources, Bhutan. She's the Chief Engineer at the ministry. And to Dawa, I want to ask you, ma'am, if from your perspective, and because we want to focus on the South Asian context, I want to ask you, what are some of the key obstacles that you've seen or encountered for women in Bhutan to pursue career in the energy sector, especially when it comes to governmental organizations or otherwise? So over to you, Dawa.
Thank you so much, Nidhi, and thank you, Monali, previously for the keynote address. And I think both of which touched on a lot of things that I would personally would have liked to speak also, but I think it was good to have a very good context setting in the very beginning itself. And before I go into the question that you have posed for me, I would like to first thank the hosts, of course, for this platform, bringing together women from South Asia. I think it is very apt that we have this opportunity, and I'm highly honored to be part of this dialogue process and the sharing of thoughts. And I would also like to wish everyone a very happy International Women's Day. I'm very, very glad that I'm celebrating it this way. In fact, this is the first time I'm celebrating this day. And going to the specific questions, women in Bhutan, especially what kind of obstacles that women in Bhutan face, specifically in the government settings, I must share that Bhutan, while we are a very tiny developing country and we are faced with a multitude of socio-economic development challenges, and especially we are going through a lot of transformational changes in the quest to be a developed country soon enough. We actually have one of the most, I would say, open-minded cultures when it comes to the treatment of women. While we lie in the South Asia, and I'm happy to share that Bhutan perhaps is one of the most culturally open or traditionally open-minded spaces that a woman can be in. And I would say, from that context, I would say that there is no such stark gender biases or gender inequalities or discrimination that is being faced by women in Bhutan. Now, having said that, I think women in general, and which is beyond the borders or globally, what is true for women is true for Bhutan also. And there are natural barriers of just being a woman in a male-dominated society, especially in the energy sector, which has persistently been a male-dominated sector. And energy sector, I think, is more often than not perceived as a masculine line of profession. And you will hardly see women, especially in the leadership roles in the energy sector. And when I talk about natural barriers, I think just by being a woman, where you have a natural obligations to be a mother and to be, to have to take breaks from career, which is inevitable for, just by being a woman. I think these are some of the barriers that a woman face in Bhutan, which I think globally, I think all women do face. Now, having said that, when it comes to getting an education and getting into a field like engineering, especially in Bhutan, I think Bhutan, we enjoy equal opportunities. And even when it comes to entering workplaces, there is no barrier as such for a woman to enter a workplace in the government organization, or especially in the public sectors. I think the opportunities are equal for a woman as it is for a man. And there's no special, I would say, a barrier that a woman has to overcome. Now, but having said that again, after you have entered the workplace, I think rising further and coming to a top level or rising further ahead in career is a little bit of a challenge. And as I said, there are natural barriers. So overcoming the natural barriers itself is a challenge. And then having to overcome the biases or the traditional bias, especially in Bhutan, where women are seen as a naturally women are seen as a homemaker, and the role of a woman is tied down to that of a around the kitchen. And as what Nidhi was saying, I think women are seen mostly in the administrative sectors, where it becomes more of a perception that women are more women's aptitude is more suited for service sectors and not especially in the technical fields. I think these are some of the barriers that come in place, especially within the workforce as you have entered the workforce, and it gets harder and harder as you rise higher. And It is, I think it all boils down to one key barrier, which is the perception. And this is something which is the most difficult when it comes to overcoming a barrier. And it takes a long time to change perception. It may take a short time to change the rules or regulations or change the, I think, what do you say, the obstructions which is physically present. But to change a perception takes years and years of changing a mindset. And until a time comes when it becomes a natural thing to see at least 50% of the leaders in Bhutan are women, or 50% of the board members of a certain company, or 50% of the parliamentarians are women, I think it takes making a conscious decision on a day-to-day basis that will drive this kind of change in perception. And ironically, it's not the women who are at task, who are to be put to task here. I feel that it's the men who will have to do a lot of, who have a lot to contribute in driving this change, because they already occupy the spaces, the majority of the spaces. They already occupy all the, I think, majority of the voices. So they have that stand where they can make change for women if they are, I think, inspired enough to do so, which I hope this dialogue will do. And personally, at a very individual level, I feel that a woman has to assert herself more than a man to make an equal impact or have an equal say. And in these kind of circumstances, I think it's the confidence which holds as a key attribute in a woman's to navigate these challenges. Then, as we talk about energy sector, as Nidhi rightly pointed out, the direction that we are taking, the clean energy drive, the energy transition, and the net zero goals by all the countries, I think there women have even more role to play, and especially in Bhutan, when it comes to grassroots level, it is women who have a greater role at the grassroots level, and it's when it comes to a drive such as reaching the last mile, as most of you may know that Bhutan, we have achieved almost 100% of electricity access, but then we still have the last mile to achieve, which becomes a continuous quest for us. And there, I think we have seen that it is women who have even bigger role. And so I would say that there are challenges as well as opportunities when it comes to women in Bhutan. So I hope this gives a glimpse of what being a woman in energy, especially in the energy sector in Bhutan, entails. Thank you. Over to you, Nidhi.
Thank you, Nava. I think you touched on most of, the notes that we all kind of resonate with, be it, some of the barriers that are biologically driven, and of course the others which are socially constructed when it comes to perception, when it comes to expectations and societal conditioning. So I think a very good roundup of most of the issues that we think and resonate with. And continuing with that stride, I would like to now go to Ms. Jorifa, who is the Director of System Planning, Bangladesh Power Development Board. And to you, ma'am, I would like to ask, similarly, some of what are, if you have to talk about some of the systemic challenges or some of the overarching challenges that hinder women's participation, especially when it comes to leadership positions in the energy sector, keeping in context of Bangladesh, or what would your thoughts be? Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Nidhi. So before going to the question, so I would like to thank special thanks South Asian Regional Energy Hub and USAID and also the SAWIE to arrange such kind of discussions at the International Women's Day. So we are really very proud to discuss about this issue. So regarding the question, so there is a lot of systematic challenges that are difficult to get a leadership positions in the energy sector. So energy sector, this is technical sector. So really challenges in here. Initial entry level is not a problem, but leadership position, so there is a problem. So from my experience, I have more than 23 years experience in the energy sector. Now I am in the position in the director of the planning. So I am power sector, after the EP of this Pakistan period and under the liberations of Bangladesh more than 50 years. So I'm the first female director of Bangladesh Power Development Board within the 51 years it was separated from the East Pakistan. So I'm the first female director. So that was the challenge for me, because discrimination. So that's like sometimes barrier one of the for me. And from my perspective, so I try to realize what about the leadership leadership position, how to get it. So first one is that from my point of view, work-life balance. Work-life balance is really important. No one will not help you how to develop myself. From my experience, I develop myself by myself. No one will not help me. Even my colleagues, they feel jealous. Even house, if you develop myself, everybody told you are always busy about your career. You are not involving your family. You are not involving your child. So you have to develop yourself. So need to work-life balance. So sometimes female are facing stress. Then just like I'm giving in my example in my office, my junior colleague, she was in executive engineer. She was working under me, and I try to push him. I try to sometimes pressure him, say one day you will get a good position like me. And she said one day, she came to my office and she came to my room and she said that I cannot do that. I don't want to like about you because I am getting stressed. I want to leave this office because I have kids. They're very young, so I cannot manage it. I want to leave this office. And I was so surprised. I was deserted. What lady is talking about me? And she talked about our management. Chairman is the head of our organization. She just came to the chairman and she said she is not working able to this department because this department is so much work. She want to leave this office. And she managed it. She just like go back from this office, and now she's another office. And 15 or 16 days, just like before, I just found him in the street. I asked him what about her now. She said she's okay because this office no much pressure in this office. She's okay. But did you think about this? This lady will get a leadership position? I don't think so. She will not get a leadership position because when you try to go up, the post should be limited post. There is a mass competition is over there. My post is limited post. So I had a master's degree in Germany. I go back. I have to manage everything. So I always try to talk about the different platform, how to talk in front of people, how to talk in front of audience. I to develop myself. So that now I am in here. So work-life balance is an important. And the issue is the gender discrimination. Already Bhutanese representative, she already mentioned gender discrimination in the workplace. When you try to get a promotions, management is thinking about this lady is okay. She can get this position is okay. But your colleagues, every day you were talking about discussing, eating, sitting, talking everything. But he feel jealous. Oh, this lady good position. So she will not do this anything. This is gender discrimination is over there. Is these leadership positions, and also the lot of supportive policy and initiative. Supportive policy separate is not possible. Is not possible. Separate policy is not possible. No, but always talking about this, like audience or forums on like table talk, but policies support is really tough. I don't think so policy, but there is a barrier, there is a barrier. We need to clear cut policy, but we'll talk about, but it's not possible. Separate policy for the gender issue is not difficult. It's difficult. No one will not do it. One of the work-life balance, we could change it. Another issue is that limited access to networks and opportunities for professional development. SAWIE, like we power. There is a we power. Already Nidita and Aishwarya already know the we power. But I think we power is working in the root level. So we power is not Bangladesh we power. World Bank supported Bangladesh. We power is not working in the leadership position. They are not talking about the leadership positions. They are only working student how to develop a student, how to develop root level women. But they are not discussing with us. Those female what about our like facing what kind of problem are we are facing? They are not talking about this issue. Well, let's make a complaint with the we power and World Bank. They said this is okay. I don't know. We need a separate, platform. That platform, we need to talk about those who want to take leadership positions. Because we are working in Ministry of Power, Energy and Mineral Resources. There are a lot of, dedicated, dynamic female officers are working. So definitely one day they will get a good position. So need to lack of access network opportunity. That one of the important issue. Another issue is that additionally like training. We can sense it, training, lack of training. So training, special kind of training. So how do you motivate yourself? How do you develop yourself? This is what do you want to do? What about our goal? What about our target? There is a barrier. We don't want to know about that from initially. So from the entry level, officer's entry level, you have to fix up your goals. So training is really important. Once you get a training, so definitely you will be motivated how to reach, how to achieve your goal. And also the mentorship and role model. Mentoring, role model, lack of mentoring and low role model. There are few females are there. There are role models. They can just like they can relax like to just talk about those who are not motivated. They can motivate it, how to set your goals, how to go up, how to reach your leadership position. So role model one of the issue, lack of the role models, and also the also the cultural norms. And also social expectations, cultural norms don't do like that. That is one of the issues. The discrimination is over there. Also, some one of the issue is that policy sometimes barrier majority is that. So policy guidelines, Bangladesh policy guidelines like female participation, so government not allowed now in here. No quota system, no reservation system is in Bangladesh, no. Officers entry level, no, there is no quota systems. Bangladesh government now it omitted it, but we want to do that. Now Bangladesh is no in power sector, less than 1% females are working. So majority, if you are not majority, so it will be difficult to manage everything because you are few. Everybody will discriminate you. You will be alone. How to handle it? So majority participation is important. You need to policy sense, but government everything just like recent 5 to 6 years before they everything they just like quota system they already don't allow the quota system. So that's why last year's last year's our organization 2023, 150 officers was recruited. Out of 150, 2 female engineers are there, and I was the oral exam board. Always I was the oral exam board, and 12 female engineers was participating in the viva, and only 2. 15 total, 115 only 2. So I didn't do that. I asked them, what about your problem? I personally gave them the good marks, but written exam, they're not good enough. That's why only 2 participants out of the 150. Did you think about this? What are the barriers are there? So definitely is that develop myself. Thank you very much, Nidita.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your thoughts. I think what Jurifa ma'am did was that, she also personalized and humanized the barriers and what happens when you are in the domain. Resonating with what even Dawa said about in the context of Bhutan, I think in the region we do have these kind of aspects when we talk about, like, for instance, entry level is not very difficult, but when it moves to, career development and improving and working on themselves, perhaps because of a lack of a supportive policy framework, mindset barriers that people have, societal expectations, all of this kind of, give into kind of and kind of having these corollary impact of not having that kind of a support system for perhaps have many more women in leadership positions. So segueing from, what ma'am said, I would like to now actually think from the, I would like to go to Dr. Kedia before we circle back to Ms. Ranju, because I want to listen from, a policy perspective in terms of, developmental perspective from Dr. Kedia's expertise, that, if you have to think and talk about certain effective strategies or initiatives that organizations and utilities and can implement to improve inclusive work environment for women in the energy sector, but also in terms of how can we improve not only access of women in the entry level, but also to move beyond entry level. So if to talk about certain effective strategies or initiatives So over to you, Dr. Kedia.
Thank you so much, Nidhi, and I would like to thank the organizers for organizing this event and bringing us together to share our experience, and a very happy Women's Day. So the question raised by Nidhi is very important as to what are the effective strategies or initiatives that organizations can foster of a more inclusive workspace or ecosystem, and speaks very well to the theme, the campaign theme of this year's uh, International Women's Day, which is inspiring inclusion. First and foremost, my perspective would come as a policy researcher, and but I would like to also start like with a personal story.
Hmm.
So I did my undergraduation in engineering and electrical engineering with a focus on power systems,
Hmm.
and ultimately, like at this stage, I'm working on the policy side, and I went to do on my PhD in international relations on the social science side. uh, but when I did my engineering, access to the education system was not very tough in the sense for women. For instance, like I didn't have to pay fees. It
Hmm.
was a measure taken by the state government to encourage women to enter into engineering fields.
Right.
But however, after I did my engineering, uh, you know, the external ecosystem was really not conducive. For example, I at that stage was very much interested in nuclear energy
Hmm.
and nuclear energy power systems. And those kind of opportunities weren't there, partly because of external factors that India was seeing an IT boom. So much of the jobs in the engineering sector was in the IT software coding sector.
Hmm.
And that, of course, didn't appeal to me. And then I decided to kind of switch on to the social sciences side, and I've stuck to that. And of course, working very much in the field of energy and sustainable development. So, coming about talking about inclusion, it is very important to segregate it from diversity to inclusion,
Hmm.
because, like as the previous speakers have already pointed, that it is easier to get to a diverse workplace or even a diverse education system, but then going beyond that is difficult. So, just
Hmm.
to take a quote from Verna Myers, diversity is being invited to the party, but inclusion is being asked to dance, right? So if we
Right.
translate that to the energy sector, I'd just say diversity is an energy in an energy sector organization or ecosystem is ensuring that women are included to solve energy problems by formulating solutions. But inclusion means that women are given an opportunity to shine.
Hmm.
So I do feel that those opportunities, and by leadership, one means, of course, I don't take it as a positional aspect, but the fact that you're in a position to empower others. And
Got it.
in that case, like, women, at least as far as Terry's research is concerned, women who have been energy entrepreneurs have done well. I mean, uh,
Hmm.
Ripu, who has been a former colleague at Terry, he led a very successful initiative called Lighting a Billion Lives. And there's empirical evidence that shows that, at least at the grassroots, when we talk about micro entrepreneurs,
Hmm.
women are more likely to take up roles as energy micro entrepreneurs and sustain them as compared to the male counterparts. But this is not to say that women are better. It is that, of course, everyone comes with a diverse perspective, and that is what needs to be encouraged. And of course, the aspect of in general, like, these aspects have been covered, whether it's this societal norms or whether it's the perceptions, or so those do come in the way, like, for a woman who is working out of a household and then into the office space and into the wider ecosystem.
Hmm.
So, I would like to say that, in terms of strategies, mentorship is very important. In my own organization, Terry, which employs more than 600 energy and sustainable development professionals. When we are onboarded, we do have a mentor program, but also a buddy program. I do think along with mentorship, when we are in workspaces, we also need a friend, a buddy, who, if we are facing problems, personal issues, which most of women do, they can confide in them and have that safe space or key here to be able to speak up to one's problems. So I do think, along with mentorship, having that buddy or in and work organization is absolutely key. And of course, COVID to some extent has disrupted that one-to-one kind of a contact, but I do think that has been a good model. So I think, this is just very broadly, I'd like to say, but I completely agree with the previous speakers. And over to you, Nidhi.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Kelia. And I think, again, kind of, resonating and sharing what, the experiences have been in the region. You rightly pointed out that, and thank you for sharing your personal story of, transitioning from STEM to then going to social sciences, and then, kind of finding your own niche and carving your own path into doing something that you were interested in rather than doing something that the universe kind of offered you after engineering. So I think that sets the tone, right, because it's about as Jurifa also said, sometimes you have to also upskill yourselves, you have to sometimes also work on yourself and kind of do that if you don't have that kind of, let's say, uh, policy support or things like that. But what was interesting is what you mentioned about Terry's, mentorship and the buddy system. I think that's remarkable that that kind of informal support also sometimes, is so important for, uh, especially for women who have to kind of juggle between the mode of production and the mode of reproduction. So I think that was very well, it not only told us something about that what we can do in terms of uh, kind of marking that own space and having these kind of systems in place where we do have some internal mechanisms of mentorship and informal systems of sharing space so that we can ease that kind of double burden, so to speak, that we say. So segueing from this discussion a bit about policy and the landscape, I think we would like to go to Ms. Ranju Pandey, who is the director of system planning department of Nepal Electricity Authority. So, Ranjuji, we would like to ask you, contextualizing, from Nepal, that what is perhaps some of the primary barriers that you see when, especially when we talk again about advancing in technical roles, because we have established that, it's the entry is not an issue, but it's actually advancement that kind of creates certain or is more limited, so to speak, for women. So over to you, Ranjuji.
Namaskar, everyone. First of all, I want to thank every this USAID team and SAREH team for providing the platform and to share my experience in energy field, and also want to say Happy Women's Day to all of us. And as Nidhi has mentioned that yes, we when I talk about my country, we have the quota system here that 33% of the in all the government office and mostly also in the private office, 33% should be the gender and social inclusion and indigenous groups should be there. So it has been from last I think 7-8 years we have this quota system. Due to this quota system, we have more female engineer interested in the energy sector, and they are studying electrical engineer, civil engineer, and in the technical sector. And similarly, like other field, in the energy field also we have a lot of energetic and new engineer entering in our office also. So we have a lot of electric engineer there at present. But as already mentioned by other colleagues,
that main problem, entering is not the main problem now, because rising up and promotion and how they manage the work, how they work, and that is the major problem in our organization also. Yes, they enter, and it is very difficult for our male counterpart to accept that the women are also in the technical field, because it is totally dominated by the male counterpart almost 5 years ago. So we have to prove ourselves each and every day. We have to prove ourselves, and we have to say that we can do it. We have to always prove that this, even the small tasks also we have to prove, because the first impression is that you are the female engineer, so you are not the technically sound. So we have to prove all that, and apart from that, now if you enter in the job, and you have to also balance the house and office, and as you get married, and you have the baby, and you have the post and pregnancy time, and after some 4-5 years, the female engineers are totally, they are just with a low confidence, and it is like that. So they want to work in where there is no work in the, as mentioned by the colleague from Bangladesh, they want to just work in the place where there is no less work, and they have to balance the baby, small baby in their house, and they have to balance the office also. So so at that point, I think they need the mentorship also, and training also, and we have to build their confidence, so that they can just balance the work and house life nicely, and there must be the confidence on them, because at that point they almost lose the confidence, and that is the reason they just don't try to go to the higher position, and they are satisfied with this, okay, and they don't want to learn much, and I think that at that point we should give them the mentorship and training, or networking is very important, so that they can be more confident, and they can believe have the belief on themselves, because even in the house also, okay, you have one job, what you have to do, and they don't get the boost up from office also, and from also the house area, because our society is male dominated society. They want their son to do more than their daughter-in-law, so that is very necessary, I believe, I think. And apart from that, as already mentioned, it is very hard to break the break this ceiling. So, and as the director from Bangladesh mentioned, there is only two female director in our office also. Maybe slowly it will improve. Even though we are not we are not we don't get opportunity to take part in the decision making process, and we are sometimes lack from that, and that is the problem. And even in the good nice position, they don't want to have the female, and the decision from the female. So we have the problem, but every day we are fighting for that. We apart from that, from my own experience, I think that you should give your 100% more than the male in your work, in your tasks, and you should be update each and every day. You should be update. That is the one way you can compete with your male counterpart in your organization. Otherwise, then you lag behind that. So for me, each day is the learning day, and each day is each day I learn more, and I study more, and I want to improve myself each day. So it's the case of mine. And apart from that, I also want SAREH and USAID team to have this good network in the region, so that women network, so that we can share our views. Even we can get some information from our counter our female engineer from another country, so we can also implement that. And networking is something missing in our case, also in our organized, also women networking is not there, because the male has the formal and informal network also, so that they can get information. But for us, we have just office and go to home. That is the case. So I think if it can be arranged, then networking would be better.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ranjuji, for your thoughts. I think what has largely come from all of our speakers, especially from the region, is that mindset and societal expectations largely come as one of the biggest, barriers for advancement in career for women in the energy sector. But what has also come out is that, women also, the onus comes upon women to kind of uh, keep at it, carve your way, and that they have done. They are these women that we have today have been in that sector for more than over 20 years, 15 to 20 or plus years, and in key leadership roles. And that's, in itself a shining example. But then what, if I have to, in the interest of time, if we can just circle back, if I have to ask you that one question, and I'll start with Dr. Kedia perhaps. If I have to ask you that, what is that one call of action that you would like to say that, investors or policymakers, companies, uh, and overall organizational practices that we have for the energy sector, what is that one call of action that you would like to say that can advance, gender equity and social inclusion in the industry?
So I think that was, what is coming up very clear is that that women need those spaces, both within work places and as well as outside workplaces. So I think, one of the aspect would be to create that ecosystem, but also if I have to look at it from a policy research perspective, is to really again, to speak on the theme that we have to invest more in women, and we have to invest more in women leadership. India's own G20 theme was women-led green development or women-led development. So I think it's high time we talk about women-led development instead of women's development. So I think I would stop. That would be my one call for action.
Thank you, Dr. Kedia. Uh, if I have to ask the same question perhaps to all of the panelists, Dava, if you would like to say something as to what is that one perhaps thing that needs more attention to advance gender equity in the sector, what would your thoughts be?
I fully agree with what Doctor said. Invest more in women and investment-led. I think women-led investment. I agree with that. And from my perspective, I think it's very important to have any discussion or every discussion to be very tailored to be gender sensitive and inclusive, so that it, as I said, I believe that perception is the greatest barrier and perhaps the hardest barrier to overcome. So to do that, I think the efforts have to be consistent, and that can only be brought about by including women's sensitivity in every discussion or any policy making or any decision making at every step.
Yes, of course, indeed. I think what really has come up is that perception, mindset, and discussion is more important. That we are having this conversation is itself so important. So, some last words from you, Jodifa ma'am, if you would like to just conclude, say something about that one call to action. Over to you. Jodifa ma'am, I think.
Okay, I was muted.
Yes. Sorry.
I'm sorry. From my
Go
just
ahead.
like experience, that always talking about this leadership positions or leadership positions need a platform, networking platform for the leadership positions, so that you can talk about your findings and problems. The Bangladesh perspective, that about engineers are working mid-level and entry-level, but they have a lot of problems. So that's why I already talked about the Asian Development Bank. They please make a good platform, and that platform we talked about our issue, how to solve it, how to manage it, and that is one of the issues. Second issue is that country to country, like South Asian country, each country problems, women's problems are more or less similar. India, Nepal, Bhutan, everything more or less similar. So role model, mentoring, role model is really important. How we can, that like entry-level officer, she always demotivated. Like how to motivate them, how to talk about them. She always feels shy. Always she don't want to go back. Like she want to go even in the meeting, she don't want to talk about this. She feels shy. Sometimes like this, that to push them, how to push them. So role model and mentoring, senior officers, seniors in. So we have to work over there. And also one thing is that I already talked about this. So workplace balance, need to workplace balance. So your colleagues, though who are senior or juniors, so you have to yourself that will create your place. You have to take a good, in morning, just come to in office. You said, hi, how are you? And sometimes like getting together and maintain a good relationship. Otherwise it's difficult to tap, in the majority, those who are females, it's tough to work over there. This is my last word is that.
Okay. Thank you, Jirupama. I think in the interest of time, I think we had a very interesting and insightful discussion, and it was nice to hear from women leaders in the sector, from the region, as well as Dr. Kedia covering from the policy and organization perspective. And I think I would like to end on that note. What even Dr. Kedia said, the difference between inclusion and diversity. I think that's a key takeaway, because while there can be, we are moving towards, and we have talked about how gender diverse boards or gender diverse companies in general do make, better decisions, or there's more efficiency, and research has established that. But when we talk about inclusion, when we need to talk about more support, more organizational, better improved inclusive practices that enable, and kind of it's more of an enabling environment. So workplaces need to be more as catalyzers and enablers, in which we have these kind of mentorship programs. So we do have certain support systems, formal and informal, as we said, work and as well as outside of work, because what's becomes very, very important in the case of women is to make and strike a balance between, as I said, between work and home, between the mode of production and mode of reproduction. So I think, thank you once again to all of our esteemed panelists, and I would like Ritu to take over and uh, go ahead with the, thanking all of our participants and the vote of thanks. So over to you, Ritu.
Sure. Thanks, Nidhi. I think we've had such an enriching discussion for the past 1 hour. Jarifa ma'am, I just wanted to say that you were asking of role models. I do see role models right here, right? We have role models already. And I don't have any qualms about it. You all can be the inspiration for the rest of the young women generation that's to come. And I take the offer of Ranju ma'am from NEA that there is a venue available waiting for us to come next there and maybe do an in-person there. We'll talk about it internally with USAID and SAREH, and let's see how we can manage that. With that said, I think no worries. Yeah, absolutely. With that said, I just want to not forget a few folks out there who have been the back and support, the backbone of this entire team, of this entire effort, especially the SAREH team, the Workstream 1 team, cross-cutting lead Farah Ahmed. Thank you so much for your support all through. Adya, Gupta, thank you so much being the communications manager for SARE, South Asia Regional Energy Hub. Not to forget Nidhi, you have been a great supporter as a moderator and running this all through. Hi, Adya, good to see your face now.
And I just want to
Nidhi,
say that
okay,
Sure.
Nananju, okay, come say.
yeah, I just want to say that we all have to work together to boost up the confidence of the young inner female engineers so that they can go to the leader position in the future.
Help each other, yes.
From our side, from doing the mentorship, from building their confidence, networking, and everything. So we have to work together.
Absolutely, and I think this reminiscence me because I don't know a little bit story about SAWIE when I was part of the inception team, and the main agenda why we started SAWIE was to look at how can we improve the representation of women at the leadership position, at the board level, at the C level. So I think this is just a full circle, and I'm so glad internally that all the key things that you mentioned, leadership, mentorship, networking, all of those are actually one of the each pillars within SAWIE. So I think that validates a lot of thought process that went into the system. It's been 3-4 years now, but it still is very, very relevant. So I think we take a lot of cue from there. So again, going back to the vote of thanks, formally, I have included Farah, Adya, Nidhi, yourself. I don't know if Monali is still here, but Monali, thank you so much for being
Still
the
here.
spotlight. Are you still on the road? I mean, that tells a lot of
Yeah,
stories about Delhi or NCR.
yeah. No, but many of the things which it was very good to hear all the personal, experiences as well, and many of the things which all our panelists mentioned are things which now SAWIE would be focusing on how to push, move toward helping more women get to that leadership position. So I think it's great insights, and we'll love to work with all of them to take the agenda of SAWIE forward. Yeah, but back to you. Don't want to.
Sure. No worries. I just want to take a moment just to thank the panelists for sure, Ranjuji. Thank you so much, Jurifa, Dava, Shelly, especially because it was a last minute call for you, but thank you for accepting and making this insightful points. And Nidhi, great to just summarize it, how diversity cannot be just confused with inclusion. I mean, that's a great takeaway. USISP team, US India Strategic Partnership Forum team, to being the support at the end from Siddhartha. And I don't know if he's here, but thank you for your support. I don't know anyone else have I missed, but I think that's all.
Yeah, Ripo and Monali Hazra, just, so I'm sorry to say that. What about the
Sure.
SAWIE? Because SAWIE activity was good in the 2008, 9, 11. So I was the one of the actively member of the SAWIE. So what are the activities of the SAWIE?
Yes, so SAWIE,
It's a
and we've
good
now started.
platform.
It's a
It's a
great
good
platform.
platform. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the activities is kind of having these kind of conversations, but we're also looking at a strategic plan now. So we'll be developing a lot of activities around mentorship. We'll be having mentorship sessions almost every month, if possible, for young women, and have people like you mentor them. And others, but also have networking events, training, and devising a lot of strategically designed policy recommendations as well, and work with a lot of partners as we move ahead with SAWIE. So we're doing a lot of things, and we do have a runway of about a couple of years supported by SAREP and SARE under the USAID program. So I think we are now well placed to take SAWIE where it is supposed to be and help the entire sector within the South Asia region. And I think this marks the first event of South Asia and staying true to the name South Asia, right? We've never had a South Asia panel like this before. So I think that's the indication that how we want to structure SAWIE going forward.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely stay in touch and for your recommendations, feedback, and comments, Jarifa.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we all want to take a picture. So all of you, I
Absolutely.
request to all of you to put on your cameras and smile. So I think Aishwarya, are you doing it?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
I'm
I'm
taking
taking
the
the
picture.
picture.
Okay. Do we have it? Okay. I think we're
Yes,
good.
just a minute.
Thank you so much. Once again, I would like to just thank Monali, World Stream 1, Ripu, all of us who've been here, and thank you to all our panelists once again to make time. I know it was a holiday for some of you, so thank you so much to kind of be here and speak about your journeys, and hope to see you again in the future for regional events like this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, and happy Women's Day.